Welcome to The Brain Dump, where we study the psychology of success. Join us as we probe the habits, rituals, and routines of top-performing artists, entrepreneurs, authors, athletes, and more to uncover the timeless principles we can all use to take our lives to the next level. Are you ready to plunge the grunge that's been gunking up your mind's eye? Great, then let's get to it.
You don't know.
Guys, welcome back to the Brain Dump. We have Anthony. How are you doing, sir?
I'm fabulous. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. We're going to talk about the most loaded word. And you know what? It literally is what the podcast is about. What is success?
Oh, God.
What is scary, movable, has about 9 different explanations.
God, it has as many explanations as there are people on the planet. It's one of those terms that we all get to define for ourselves, right?
Yeah, but how does one begin to do that? Because I think we mainly define success on other people's metrics.
By and large, I think most people have never really stopped to reflect on what it means to be successful in their own terms. So we latch on to the American dream, or we latch on to money as a way of keeping score, and then saying you're successful when you've scored this many points or when you've arisen to this level of social status. But when you really stop to reflect on it, and so here's an interesting one, is I don't think that you can have a definition of success until you clearly understand your internal values. Because for me, success is living in alignment with your values. And most people have not identified what their core values are. And we hear about businesses all the time. Like, businesses are better at this than individual humans are, because businesses are certain, like in the last decade, have really realized that people want to do business with companies that stand for something and that they resonate with. And so companies are like, okay, we stand for, equal opportunity or integrity or excellence, or like whatever their value is. But then people as individuals haven't really stopped to reflect on, like, what are my core values? What's the code that I live by? And you can only, until you have those, because those are the rules of the game. That's how you're like chalking the field and saying, these are the rules that I choose to play by. These are my values. It's only through the lens of those rules that you can then say whether or not you're living successfully.
I couldn't agree more, because ultimately, I think the number one thing that people have to understand is that the metric will always move. And so if you're always saying, what I tell people all the time, man, I can't wait till I get there so I can feel this. Like, right. I couldn't tell you, I must get 7 of those text messages a week. And I said, and this is exactly what I send back. You are successful as you sit today. Because I ask this question every time I bring on a new client. On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you classify yourself as successful? Dude, it's 2, 3, 4. And I'm like, okay, well, wait, you've done $10 million of real estate a year. Like, no, I know, but.
No.
There's
always a but.
No, dude. I'm going to work out when I get here. I'm going to spend the money when I get here. But when you understand that success is merely a metric that people like, I think Alex Hermosi does this a lot. He said, I bought the things, I've done the things, and I'm telling you, I much prefer the flexibility, right? Of not having all these things. And so you have to really peel back the layers.
Well, let's unpack that, right? Like things that you own actually own you.
Boom.
Right. Like, and it's true. You buy the Lamborghini, you buy the mansion, and you buy all these things, and you think that you're the master in control, but really what you've done is you just put a new master over it. Now you have a mortgage. Now you have these bills that you have to pay, and they're sucking your bank account dry. And now you have to go to work. And now this thing that you used to do because you loved it, now it's becoming a full-time job. And this thing that if you don't do it, your lifestyle crumbles. And you start to resent those things that you once wanted so badly, because now you have them, but they don't bring you the fulfillment and the joy that you thought they would, or maybe they did for like a minute, but now they're just a drain.
It's very interesting. I told this to Maddie the other day. My dream would be to be a millionaire and still consult for your hospitality company. And he was like, you would be a millionaire and you would still help me out? Yeah, because I love this I love what my role is. My role is putting on events and hospitality and travel and experiences for people. Like, I would do this if I had $0 or $1 million. And I think when I'm in alignment with what I value, meaning what I bring to the table, what I like to show up for every day, what I like to create, then it's very easy for me to continue to show up for that. Mm-hmm. Because it doesn't matter to me what the dollar amount is. It's merely just a byproduct of the value that I'm bringing to the table for my own metric.
Yeah, I think for me, I've been really fascinated with this idea recently of chasing my capacity and thinking about the potential that we all believe that we have inside of us. And me in particular, I have this feeling that I can be so much more than what I am at any given moment, but then also finding solace and contentment in who I am at this exact moment, right? Like this. So there's this push and this pull between acceptance of where you are, but also recognizing that you don't have to stay there and that you have the ability to move forward. And so for me, some of my core values, the things that I measure success by, and these won't be any surprise to people that have listened to this podcast before, is one is learning, is constantly learning, trying to absorb. Like there's so much wonder and amazement in this world, regardless of like what topic that we're learning about. It could be about botany. It could be about electronics. It could be about acoustics. Like each one of those topics is so fascinating. And for me, learning is like, I want to absorb as much of this universe as I can. So that's one of my core values. Number two is creating, not just absorbing, but I want to take what I absorb and I want to create something new. I want to produce something that's never existed before and that couldn't have existed if I didn't exist. And then three is growing. It's like taking all those things, the learnings and the creations, and growing into becoming something not better, but further along than where I was.
Well, don't you think that everything that we're talking about, the bigger issue is that nobody has patience anymore for success or whatever they deem successful? Like, meaning that I might have been over here and learned this subject or worked that thing or bought that single family residence first, but then it got me to learn and feel more comfortable with multifamily and so on and so on. And so maybe we've created this like technology driven, fast paced world where nobody will let the game unfold or the pieces be put in place to walk the stones of
I think you hit the nail on the head, but I think you hit it with the wrong side of the hammer. And so I think patience is definitely an issue, but it's patience is required for people because they're tying success with an outcome and not with the process. And if you were to tie it with the process, so if I reflect on these values that I have of learning, of creating, of growing, those aren't outcomes. Those are right now in this moment. What am I doing in this conversation to learn, to create something new, to grow, right? And so I don't have to be patient. I have to be present.
Well, what's interesting is I wrote something the other night, and thank you for leading me into it like a champ podcaster. Just a mindset observation I had. I get up consistently early every morning, like a clock, and I'm very consistent with who I am. And I get the same question all the time. What time do you go to bed? No. That's the wrong question. The question that you have to ask yourself is what drives me so much? What gives me so much purpose that I wake up every morning with consistency to do that for myself and my clients? It's like asking the fisherman how the fish tastes instead of asking him how he caught so many fish. Everybody's emulating the results, not emulating the process because it's not as sexy.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely true. The process it's both difficult. I think the reason why we tend to not focus on the process is because the process is inherently difficult. It's inherently a struggle. Growing requires that you push outside that comfort zone or that familial zone. And it's much sexier to imagine the end state where there is no more struggle, there is no more strife, and you just arrived. But that's not a real place. The universe's only promise is one of suffering and pain and change. And you can either accept that and prepare like to harden yourself in the moments that you're always up to the challenge of whatever the universe throws at you. But I think so many people, and I understand this. I get this because I was here at one point in my life, which is that a lot of people are just barely surviving. They're barely getting by. And whether that's financially or emotionally, there's all these pressures on them, and they just feel like they need to have just a moment of respite. They just need a breath. If they could just get a breath. And so they're always looking towards the future, towards that, what could maybe be that breath of like, oh, if I finally had $1 million, if I finally had this thing, I could finally get a breath and I could finally get that respite that I need. I get it. Like when you're in that struggle, the hardest thing to say to somebody is like, hey, there is no break coming. There is no timeout. There is no halftime. It's just, you're constantly moving the ball forward, or you're letting the other team move the ball forward on you. And that's hard, but it's the reality. And so what you can do is either buckle under the strain of that and let the other team just roll over you, or you can say, this is what it is. I'm going to show up at every play the best I can.
I love that. So guys, in order to do that, what we're saying is define success for you, fall in love with your daily habits, concentrate on those, let the outcome be what the outcome will be. And then I promise you that you'll create whatever it is that you need to create. Because I know it's the way that I live my life, which is my daily habits. One of the people asked me the other day, like, how do you handle everything that you have going on? I said, super simple. I handle what's in front of me.
I outsource to Austin. That's what I do.
Mainly, guys. See, don't let him fool you. So, guys, if you love this episode, make sure you send it out to your friends. We appreciate y'all for listening. Rate us and review us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us here at The Brain Dump. Now, before you go, it's important to solidify what you've learned here today by taking action. If all you do is listen, then you're only going to retain a small amount of the information you consumed here today. So take a quick moment to really lock in any key insights, tidbits, or pieces of wisdom that you want to carry with you into the future. You can do this by heading over to iTunes and leaving a review with your top 3 takeaways from this episode. If you've already left a review, first, thank you so much. Second, it's time to start a brain dump journal. It doesn't have to be fancy, just a slip of paper will do, where you can record a couple quick thoughts from each episode. Science shows this is one of the best ways to ensure long-term retention of new information. And finally, if you've got a brother, a sister, a coworker, or a best friend that you think would benefit from this episode, do them and us a favor and share with them this episode. Your support, as always, means the world to us.